PKU is a rare brain-threatening disorder where people can't process one of the amino acids that makes up protein.
You have a genetic mutation where your body cannot break down one amino acid into another.
If you're not put on diet as a newborn, you're going to have severe brain damage and suffer severe intellectual disability.
PKU is sort of the poster child for newborn screening. Newborn screening was developed because of PKU.
Newborn screening started in the early 1960s when Robert Guthrie figured out that there was a simple way that we could test newborn babies for this condition. Patients with PKU who would otherwise become mentally retarded would have more normal neurological function if they were put on low-protein diets. Babies who have PKU need to have therapy for life through careful management, clinic visits, some blood monitoring, and availability to medical foods. These patients can grow and develop normally.
Or about 70 to 80% of their diet is dependent on a special formula, which we use the term medical food.
If you take away all of the foods that a person with PKU can't have, you're left with practically nothing. Specialty low-protein foods. These are specially manufactured to have less than 1 gram of protein per serving, and that allows that person to have a good variety of foods and also to have enough food to not be hungry.
Medical foods to treat PKU are not prescription drugs. And even though medical foods have been used to treat PKU for more than 50 years, most private as well as public insurance programs will not cover them.
So there's an additional condition which is related to PKU when women have PKU and become pregnant.
I wasn't planning on having kids. I was just turned 20 when I got pregnant with my first child, and I was off diet and I hadn't taken my formula in a couple of years. Medicaid didn't want to pay for the formula, and of course they don't pay for the foods, the low-protein foods. I was struggling with trying to get the Medicaid to cover it, and I was pregnant and I needed it then. My youngest son, Charles, he has microcephaly. He has a lot of midline problems, like he was born with 1 tooth instead of 2 front teeth. His nose, he's had 13 surgeries on his nose. When he was trying to drink his bottle, he couldn't breathe through his nose because his passageways were closed because of maternal PKU syndrome. It just kind of bothers me that it's so hard to get the formula, even when you're pregnant. These mothers need it or their children are going to have a lot more issues.
The Medical Nutrition Equity Act is a bill that's before Congress right now that would require all private insurance as well as public insurance programs to cover the cost of medical foods with no age limits, no limits on gender for inherited metabolic disorders like PKU, as well as some digestive disorders.
Medical Nutrition Equity Act is a must. It will assure access to the medical foods to the families who need it.
If people were able to get the coverage that they needed for their formulas and everything, I would be ecstatic. I know that I would definitely be able to be myself again, because you're not yourself when you're not on your diet or on your formula.
Imagine your child having this disease and how it would feel to you to have all of these additional financial burdens placed on you when you're struggling to cope with raising this child appropriately, so that he or she doesn't feel like they have a handicap and can be normal and have a productive life, even though they have to do all of these special things with their diet.
Patients with PKU who are poorly treated and become marginally competent adults confer a much greater cost on the country in terms of productivity than the therapy would ever be. I just think that 55 years after we invented newborn screening, to not have formula for all patients is really a terrible thing in the country that we think America is.